Well, a very good morning and a warm welcome to Midland Saturday Special. I'm Paul Burrell.
And I'm James Brackpool.
And today we're taking a look at the final weekend of the Premier League season, with our clubs Aston Villa and West Bromwich Albion already safe, of course. Perhaps we'll see some more experimental lineups over this weekend.
Now, on extra time this week, we had two referees from Birmingham FA County Youth Council, Simone Stewart and Tom Balkit, and they told us about their relationship with the local clubs in aiding the development of new referees.
It's a really important link for us within the county to actually have that link between coaching, referee development, welfare, that we all work together, we're not separate entities. So clubs, for example, when we put on mini soccer courses, we'll happily support referees through that. As you were saying, you go out in your first game, sometimes it's very daunting. Part of the basic course setup now is you referee your first 6 games within the course, so you have to do that before you pass.
Perfect, because that didn't happen, I'm talking a few years ago.
Yeah.
That would be really good.
So we've actually got that support mechanism now to support you through those games, and the clubs will sometimes offer those games to candidates, and then you know they're a trainee referee, they're going to be going through the course and the process, so perhaps understanding that a little bit more is really good.
Okay, and I know you've got the Young Referee Development Day coming up fairly soon, which we'll talk about in a minute. But before we do that, let's see a taste of what happens. Is a clip from what you did last year on the course, and we'll have a look. And just talk us through what's happening as we have a look at this now.
Okay. So this is the national version of what we're putting on next week. Every year, the National RA for Youth Council run a training and development session at what is called the RA Conference, or the Referees Association Conference.
Right.
Basically, nationally, the FA, so the Football Association, and the Referees Association work together. The Referees Association is a body which specifically looks after referees, so it's built just for referees. We're really fortunate there that we have lots of support from the PGMOL, which is the Professional Game Match Officials Limited. Basically, they're the guys that provide match officials for Premier League, Football League and the Conference. They come along and offer their services to help us train next generation of referees. So here you've got offside sessions going on with Adam Watts, who's used to be a FIFA assistant referee who now manages the assistants. Getting a chance to actually review your offside decisions is something you'd never get at grassroots level. You get one chance at a decision and that's it. It's a really, really good tool. Lots of assistant referee techniques. We also look at fitness. Fitness is very important.
I was going to say that is apparent there, isn't it, the fitness? Because I wouldn't have confessed we were that fit when we did the course.
Oh yeah, you definitely have to be fit if you're going to be running around for 90 minutes.
I think fitness is always an interesting one as well, because referee fitness is very different than normal training. We run a lot in a match, but we don't run constantly. We're not running for 90 minutes, but sometimes we'll be the 4th or 5th person on the field of play that actually runs the furthest, just because we have to catch up with play. We might have to sprint 50 yards, so the fitness element of it is really important, but it's putting in mechanisms to cope with that. And then the other session, we get the select group guys to act out scenarios, and you get to referee them, so you can actually referee the Premier League lads.
It's a great clip, and it's a good taster there.
Yeah.
And those people in that clip there, are they? Is there an age limit? Because they seem to be obviously young adults or slightly older. Is there an age limit to what you guys do? Is it? Basically, tell us about the course coming up and when it is. A little bit more about it. Let's do it that way.
Specifically, our age, what we aim at in terms of age is 25 and under. That's what we class as young, but that isn't limited. So, for example, that day is open to anybody to attend because we never limit training. Right. Our event next week is specifically aimed at young match officials.
What sort of qualities would you say you've got to have to be a referee then?
Oh my gosh. You've definitely got to be very vigilant. I'd say have some patience as well, definitely. Yeah.
I think you've got to have a thick skin, let's be honest. It's part and parcel of what we do. And you have to enjoy doing it. That's something that we really need to get as you go through. That people qualify for courses just to, thank you, it's a nice bit of money, not a problem. But hopefully you start enjoying it and want to progress through the levels. So lots of things like that. But you also have to be able to talk to people. Like all of our work is about communication, whether that's non-verbal, verbal. It's all about communication.
The course I did was specifically to get women into the game, but Lisa Rashid did the course with me, and she's gone on to, to great levels. I don't know what level she's at now, but she's done European matches.
Lisa's a really top level match official now. So she's a FIFA assistant referee. She's a Football League assistant referee. Contributory league referee, and she's also actually tutoring our day next week.
Is she?
Yeah.
Indeed.
I used to sit next to her and borrow a pencil.
Is that Abdul's daughter?
Abdul's daughter.
Oh, okay. Yes, I know. Yeah, I knew talking about that.
Yeah, I knew she'd gone on to great things, but
she has. Yeah.
Well, maybe you can come down and show us some tricks then. Show us what you remember.
Get your kit back on, Lisa.
Lord.
There you
Still
go.
got the whistle, that's about it.
That's it now. You've laid down the offer. That's it now.
What are the dates of the course?
It's Thursday the 28th is our development day, so it's next Thursday, and it's 10 till 4 at the Birmingham County FA headquarters, which is on Ray Hall Lane.
Where's Red Hall Lane?
Ray Hall Lane.
Ray Hall Lane.
Yeah, it's in Great Bar.
Great Bar.
Yeah.
They've got great facilities down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a county FA, we're really fortunate to have 2 full-size pitches, well, 3 actually, so we can actually use those facilities. And now with referee development, it's all practical. We don't like sitting in classrooms. We will do some indoor work, but we'll try and make those sessions practical as well. But we want to be doing work on the field of play.
So, Paul, the performance of referees this season, what do you make of the standard of officiating we've had?
It's been inconsistent for sure. I mean, Cesc Fabregas didn't mind getting the red the other night because he was in the south of France the next morning. So there's a story in itself. But in fairness to the referees, even at League Two, even at conference level, everything is absolutely scrutinised. The cameras are everywhere, whereas in the 60s and 70s, they weren't, of course. And that's a big difference.
It's difficult, isn't it? I mean, obviously, football... It's a game. It's a matter of opinion most of the time. It's interesting there. We heard them say that why officials don't come out in front of the camera because they could come out in front of the camera, explain the decisions, but is it going to change anything? In terms of accountability, that's fine. They're there, but what he might decide is a red card, someone else might think, actually, that's not even a booking.
Exactly. Exactly.
So it's difficult for them, isn't it?
They're on a hiding to nothing, they really are. I mean, I remember Classenburg, Manchester United against Tottenham a few years ago when the ball was so far over the line, it was embarrassing, and yet he's possibly rated as our top referee at the moment. But it was interesting at Arsenal the other week as well when Swansea scored that late goal. And that's when Hawkeye, or whatever you want to call it, goal line technology, really did come into his own. Kevin Friend just went, it's on there. Yeah. And that was it.
And that's it. Had me fooled, certainly. And we don't just like to get ex-players in on the extra time sofa, as you may well know. And this week saw BBC WM's Daz Hale come into the studio to talk football and to tell us his fascinating story about he fell into the world of journalism.
How you doing? Nice, good to see you. Nice. So it could be a Right Said Fred tribute band, me and you, without going on.
Yeah, but who's this in the middle?
Give it another 5 years.
That's we'll finally get to put a face to the voice. Well known on WM for a number of years. Before we talk football, how did it start? Because I know you were a postman,
I was a postman for years. I'd left school, didn't want to go on a YTS. I'm not going to do that for £25 a week. And my dad was one of the bosses at the post office. And he said, well, come and do a bit for us. So I said, OK, I'll come for the Christmas. And I think I was there for 12 years. But I was, it was a long Christmas. Yeah. But I was in a band as well. And we were called the Money Gods. And we released a few records. We played with Radiohead at Lichfield and Dodgy and quite a few other bands. Yeah. And so we were doing OK, and we were getting a bit of radio. I think we were on our video was on MTV, so we were reasonable.
Were you the front man, Dan?
Yeah. Oh, don't say singer. Yeah. Front man, vocalist, and lyricist. And so, of course, off the back of that, you just start doing a little bit of media, a bit of radio, whatever. And then when the band split up, I think they realised that I'd been the mouthy one and started saying, well, do you want to come and do a little bit of this for us and a little bit of that for us? And eventually they offered me a contract. And it was a big deal, actually, because back then, being a postman, it was a job for life. That's how it was seen. Yeah. And to take the plunge from that to a 6-month contract, I thought, I've got to do it. And that was 13 years ago, and I'm still getting away with it so far.
Still getting paid.
Just about,
Was it always, sport that you wanted to get into?
The dream job, yeah. I mean, I started off by I think it was doing cinema reviews. Yeah. Having took bad jokes about cinema reviews and then just presenting a variety of programmes. I've done pretty much every programme on the station, but football is my passion. I was like Roy of the Rovers every Saturday morning, me and my mate Staggy going down and getting Roy of the Rovers ordered and going to the football, and was never good enough to play at any decent level, unfortunately.
I was going to ask you
I broke my nose, how bent that is. Yeah.
So I wasn't going to say anything about that.
Yeah. So in the end, just talking about football was a great passion, football. Yeah.
And of course, we said in the intro, a big Wolves fan.
Yeah. And I've never hid my colours. I've never had any stick about it either, because I think that obviously we cover Wolves, Birmingham, Villa, Albion, Walsall, so we do all those teams, but you just call it as you see it. And all I would say to anybody is that same religion, different denomination. So ultimately, although we like to think our fans are better than your fans, we're all football fans and we all experience the role, especially being around here, the roller coaster of emotion. So, and when I'm not working, I've still got my season ticket and go for a good swear, you know, in the South Bank every now and then.
Well, coming to sort of roller coaster of emotions, you know, West Brom, Chelsea, who'd have called that?
Had Chelsea still been out drinking from celebrating the title?
Yes.
Well, I think it's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic performance, fantastic result. And I think one of the, not criticisms, but I think one of the reservations Baggies supporters have had since Tony Pulis has come in is that, OK, we're going to be solid, and he's done the job, he's kept them up. It's that, where's the flair? Well, I think we saw last night where the flair was. And they've got a young kid now, 20 goals, Saido Berahino. It's only his second season, and it was his first goals for a few weeks, but he's a youngster and he's going to go up and down. If they can keep hold of him, and I think if Tony Pulis can add to that squad in the summer, but more clean sheets than the laundry department at Crossroads Motel since he's been involved. It's really tightened them up, and I think that if you think the Crystal Palace team that he had last season, then he got players in there with pace and with power, and they were good to watch. And I think that's what, if he's given the time and if he's given the money by the new hierarchy, if there is a new hierarchy at the Hawthorns this summer, it can only go one way. And they're now an established Premier League club, aren't they, after all those years of yo-yoing?
Yeah. Oh, they are, and they've done so well, like we've said before, that Tony has to, in his style of football, to do the job and keep them up. But do you think, so we're sort of asking the question of anybody that's been on, haven't we, related to the Baggies, or talking about the Baggies, Berahino, do you think he'll stay?
I think it's debatable. I think a lot will depend on who, again, if this change happens on the ownership. Now, if somebody comes in, or a consortium comes in, and they're going to back Tony Pulis with a lot of money, then maybe Saido Berahino may want to be part of the revolution. Yeah. He's said a few things that possibly he might be looking to move on in the summer, but what I do know is that if it's Jeremy Peace still running the club, if he does sell him, he'll get top dollar for him.
How much is he worth?
Well, he's a young kid who's just scored 20 goals.
And he's got the English premium on him as well.
Yeah, so, well, if you think of Ross McCormack, 12 months ago, went for 10 or 12 million pounds to a championship team. Yeah. And if you think of Balotelli, went for 16 million pound last summer and he couldn't hit a barn door. Nice hair, but couldn't hit a barn door. Then I'd want 20 million pound plus a nice little sell-on if he moves on again somewhere. But it'd be nice to think that if he's going to play week in, week out, which he will if he stays at Albion, if he gets an England call-up again, which is possible, obviously that all this stuff was going on at the time, if he can get an England call-up again this summer, playing at Albion, maybe another little pay rise, who knows, maybe he'll stay and they could build a team around him because he's only going to get better. I think he's going to be as good as he wants to be, that boy.
So great to have Daz in the studio, Paul.
He's a character.
He's a character. He's got 1,001 jokes, that man, but it was lovely to see him.
Can you repeat any of them?
Some of them, some of them. He's a big Wolves fan. When we were speaking to him, he sort of seemed to blame the 2 games against Blues for Wolves' reason to in not making the playoff. He was pretty adamant.
Of course, the first one was Gary Rowett's first game, wasn't it? 0-0 draw.
Yeah.
And you can talk about a Blues taking 4 points off Wolves, but I think most Wolves fans would talk about that barren run just before Christmas with no points out of 15. You know.
Well, I think Daz was making the point that Wolves could have gone top if they'd have beaten Blues that day. But you know, it's all ifs, buts and maybes, isn't it? You know, every fan of every club's going to say.
But I think we touched on this last week that, you know, it's probably a good thing for Wolves. Another year in the Championship, at minimum. I mean, there's no guarantee they'll come up. But, you know, I just think it might have been too soon for Kenny Jackett's outfit.
I think I agree. Moving on to boxing, obviously, we've got Frankie Gavin's world title fight against Kell Brook on May 30th. Big day, that. FA Cup final, then world title fight. Frankie's obviously the underdog.
Not in Frankie's eyes.
No, but that's the thing. I don't think he minds having that title. There's less pressure on him, isn't there?
Yeah. I mean, he got beat, as Ian Johnson alluded to last week, and it was probably a good thing for Frankie, a bit like Wolves not going up in a perverse sort of way. But this is something special. I mean, he wishes it was at the Barclaycard Arena, but it's at the O2, and it's box office. It's real box office. I mean, what about you? Brook or Gavin?
I'm fancy. I hate
your
to
head
say
says
it.
one and your heart says the other.
I hate to say it, but I'm really thinking Kell Brook's just maybe a bit too good. Frankie's obviously, you know, he's had a lot of his own sort of personal issues, which is well documented, and we won't touch upon them. I think Frankie's got to take the fight to Kell Brook. I think he's got to be the aggressor. And I think Frankie Gavin's got no problem with doing that.
He'll have good support down there.
Occupying the centre of the ring and getting to Kell Brook. But, you know, Kell Brook's is a top fighter.
Yeah, he's a class act. So what, in your opinion then, let's just say Gavin loses, and we certainly hope he doesn't here, of course. Where would that leave Frankie, in your opinion?
It's a tough one, isn't it? I mean...
Career-wise.
You know, is he realistically going to get another world title shot? I don't know. Frankie, to me, doesn't seem like the kind of guy who's going to certainly, you know, step down from fighting after that. But I've got a feeling this fight may just be make or break for Frankie Gavin. And, you know, the least he can do is go down there and give a good account of himself. But again, I just fear that Kell Brook might have a little bit too much in the tank for him.
Yeah, I still think the hunger is there, and he'd come back even if he loses. OK, that's it for part one from James and myself, and we'll be waiting for you after this break.
Welcome back. You're watching the Midland Saturday special with me, James Brackpool, and Paul Burrell. Now, as the summer is approaching, we're aiming to showcase a wide range of sport and athletics on Extra Time. And this week we've been looking at parkour, or as you may know, it's free running. Joining us on the sofa were free runners Nick the Ninja Buckley and Jake Sult, with John Mulkeen from the athletics governing body, the IAAF. Nick and Jake started off by talking us through a few simple free running moves.
Well, that was a handstand. Going into the strides into a Kong. That was strides into a tuck jump. Nice little jump down from the stairs. Here's the hippo side flip. Brilliant part of the video.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is just generally strides across a bench, so 1 foot each.
Oof.
And then obviously the nice front.
I do that when I wake up.
Yeah. That's brilliant. Okay, so there you have a couple of precisions. More strides, just generally some creative movement there.
And how fit do you have to be be able to do stuff like that?
To be honest, you don't actually have to be the peak of your fitness, which a lot of people assume you do. You just need to generally be able to get about, maybe a light jog, and a little jump, maybe 1 or 2 foot. With a tuck, of course, because a lot of people can't jump straight in the air.
It's easy.
Yeah.
Well, I'll show you later in the car park. We'll be all right.
When the camera's
You're doing that.
Yeah. But how did you get involved, Nick? How did it come by you?
Well, literally, I was quite young. I was a youngster, a couple of years younger than Jake. Actually, I was about 14, 15, and I felt like I was losing my way. I had no interest in any other sports, or not very many hobbies, so I just thought, well, you know what, I really like ninjas, I'll be a ninja. So I started jumping about. And
it's literally straightforward as that, was it?
Yeah, and I know, literally just that.
I know before you were saying that you got Jake involved as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, that was actually quite a special moment, really. I was around my area in Warsaw training, showing off some moves, some back somersaults, front somersaults and the lot. And then this young lad goes, wow, that's really cool. Can I watch?
Just like that.
And I've turned around. this young man, Jake.
Yeah.
And I've said, yeah, sure, come and watch, like. He's watched me for a bit and said, how do you get to learn that? Is there a club or something? Do I have to pay? You know, how do I find out how to learn about it? And I said, well, I can teach you some of the stuff that I know and put you forward towards some links on YouTube so that you can see the videos and have a look about learning from them.
Yeah.
And he's done just that, really, and he's come a long way. It's really good.
So how long have you been doing it, Jake?
3 years now.
Okay, so some time. And are you still at college? Are you working at school?
I've just left college and I'm going into an apprenticeship.
All right. Well, an apprenticeship doing what?
Woodwork and joinery.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, well, the trades. We're lacking, aren't we, in this country? So you've got into that, which is brilliant, and obviously you've got to be fairly disciplined to do what you do. And has it helped you along the way? Do you think, like some lads, you may have strayed into, as we hear so much about these days, the gang culture or sort of that around?
I'd say it's helped me quite a lot. Like when I was a lot younger, before I met Nick, I was quite naughty.
Yeah.
And
good lad.
Then when I got into free running, it was almost like a discipline. It helped my anger. It helped with messing about on the streets, and instead I just wanted to go out and train.
Yeah. And some of your mates that you probably used to hang around with, they've seen you doing this. Do they want to get involved, or are they? Because you're like a mentor now, aren't you, Nick? To them.
Pretty much. I mean, in my day job, I'm actually full-time employed at Devonport Housing Association, and of course it is stressful in the day, so I'll train on the evening. Relieves a lot of stress. But on the evenings, most evenings, I'm actually coaching at Walsall Gymnastics Centre, doing the British Gymnastics 3G sessions, which is basically parkour and free running, but in a way that the British Gymnastics can control it, to say, well, now it's a different sport because it's in a controlled environment, it's safe. There's none of this outdoor business that can cause injury and whatever else. So I'll coach there as well as on the street. You know, I'll have kids coming up to me, oh, can you do that again? And I'm like, do what? I didn't do anything. Ninja. I love it.
I got to ask the question. It's great for pulling the girls, isn't it?
Well, do you show them that video?
To be honest, I've not pulled a single girl from doing these movements.
Yeah. Well, that might be because they think you know it's too dangerous for me to be involved. How dangerous is it?
Well, to be fair, the danger level depends on the individual, depends on how long they've been training, what kind of training they do. For example, if you have no idea about parkour and free running and you just go, right, he's just done a jump over a gap, I'm going to go and copy that. You jump over that gap, you're more likely to fall. If you do a warm-up, basic warm-up, get your blood levels going, do some basic conditioning exercises, press-ups, sit-ups, squats, anything else you can think of really, hanging off a ledge even, then you're more likely to succeed when it comes to jumping that gap.
Well, you'd never catch him, would you?
You certainly wouldn't. And they seem so blasé about, you know, they were insistent that almost anyone can do it with a few sort of fairly basic conditioning exercises. But I don't know, Paul, would you fancy your chances doing backflips over signs?
No, I just think that young Jake, it's great to see him sounding so positive, and like Gary James was saying, we wish you the best for the future. It's brilliant.
Oh, absolutely. You know, Gary quite interestingly drew the parallels between parkour and boxing in terms of, you know, it gives kids an outlet to sort of come off the street when they might be making trouble and sort of channel their energies into something positive.
Yeah.
And I thought that was fantastic. And Nick himself is attracting sponsorship, so we wish him the best, and hopefully parkour may or may not be an Olympic sport in the future.
And only Gary James, of course, could actually say it's good for pulling girls. There you go, Gary James,
that's
in great form. Yeah.
So, Paul, moving on from parkour now, we've got the
let's move on from parkour.
We've got the Grand Prix coming to Birmingham on the 7th of June. A whole host of athletes coming. We've got all these Super Saturday athletes.
And what better city, James? I mean, Birmingham really has proven itself as a great athletics venue. Indoor and outdoor.
John was, you know, I think he's very excited about this. He was talking about, you know, especially the fact that we've got Jess Ennis coming here. I mean, she's a star, isn't she?
Sheffield United fan.
Yes,
yeah.
We won't hold that against him.
No.
He also spoke very keenly about a young athlete called Matt Hudson-Smith, who he says is the leading light for, you know, West Midlands athletics. So we're hoping to get him in.
Well, we'll keep an eye on him, obviously.
On the sofa. And, you know, are you going to be going down to the Grand Prix at all? Or?
Unfortunately, I'll be on a beach in Spain, so I won't be doing that, but I shall be making sure that I see what you're talking about on that weekend. But that Super Saturday, I mean, it was only 3 years ago, but it's still in the mind of everyone, isn't it?
Well, that's the thing. You say Super Saturday, everyone knows what you're talking about. Yeah. It's one of those things.
It's about a 45-minute period, was
it was something. I can't remember exactly. I mean, it was just you just thought we were on top of the world for that brief amount of time.
It was life-changing for those athletes, and people will say in years to come, I was there at the Olympic Stadium. You know.
Did you go, Paul? Did you go see
I was involved with the football at Wembley,
Yeah.
Ladies and men's,
Yeah.
and it was just a thrill, an absolute thrill. The vibe was great, and there were a lot of squaddies there working as volunteers, and that in itself was just moving. It was just wonderful, wonderful.
Right, well, obviously we've got the big FA Cup final for Villa coming up.
Can't wait.
We'll talk about a little bit of them after the break. But the FA Cup in general, Paul, it's been difficult for the Midlands teams over the past 20.
A lot of people say
years,
that it's lost its allure, it's lost its magic, but I don't think it has. And I think sometimes the scheduling doesn't help. I mean, playing the FA Cup final a couple of years ago when it was a full league programme as well. I mean, it should be the last game of the season, like it is this year, thankfully. And, yeah, like you say about the West Midlands, I think, well, I know Coventry City were the last team to lift it, and what a thrilling game that was, probably before you were born.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
1987, great cup final. They were such underdogs, which is why Frankie Gavin, we hope he can do it. And Villa, of course, flattered to deceive. They got to the final in 2000, lost to Chelsea 2-0, and Villa fans will admit Villa didn't really turn up. So whatever happens next on Saturday,
I want a good performance.
don't do that, you know, for goodness sake.
At least give it a go. And I think with Tim Sherwood at the helm, they will. But obviously, more about that later.
Didn't you have Graham Williams in recently?
We did, yes.
He was the cup-winning captain in '68 for Baggage.
Spoke very fondly about it, yeah. But I mean,
life-changing, like I said.
Well, it is, isn't it? I mean, recently we've had, well, '98 we had Wolves get to the semi-final.
Yeah, I was at that game. That was at Villa Park.
Yeah.
Arsenal 1, Wolves 0.
Yeah.
They gave a good account of themselves, Wolves, but just a little bit short. There were some big Arsenal players that day, Petit and Vieira. And that famous back four.
Yeah. That's
hard to breach.
Hard to breach, wasn't it? And obviously West Brom, their semi-final against Portsmouth. In 2008.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of Albion fans really think that was a big missed opportunity for them, wasn't it?
It was a big miss. I think it was Carnu who got the winning goal that day. And I remember that FA Cup run because Chasetown got to the third round of the FA Cup and they're still the lowest ranked team in the football triangle to do that. And they played Cardiff City. They'd already beaten Port Vale after a replay. That was thrilling. And Aaron Ramsey made his senior debut at the age of 17. He scored a header. That was his first game ever as a senior player. Yeah. And Dave Jones was the manager, and Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank was on the bench, and it was freezing cold, and he had a great big sleeping bag like this, and it was like this for the whole game.
What's wrong with him? Yeah.
Yeah. I play at Stamford Bridge. I don't play at Chasetown Football Club. It was brilliant. Yeah. And they ordered their own pizza from a local shop because they didn't fancy the food that Chasetown put out. It's shocking, but a fabulous day.
Yeah.
A fabulous day. And Cardiff went to the final.
Yes, they did, of course.
Cardiff went all the way to the final.
Famous win for Portsmouth that year.
Pompey,
What a slide they've had. But, I mean, the FA Cup, for you, what's your most fondest memory?
My favourite one is Coventry beating Tottenham. That was the best final. I'll never forget Ryan Giggs' goal. Me and my lad were behind the goal at the Holt End when he took on the Arsenal defence and embarrassed them. I mean,
bad time, Apple.
I know. But it was amazing because if Bergkamp hadn't missed a penalty, they wouldn't have won the treble that year. But it was in the stars and they deserved it. They're a fabulous team.
Well, as I said, the FA Cup for me hasn't lost any of its magic. So I'm looking forward to the final.
Oh, absolutely. Prediction?
Later.
Later indeed. I'll keep you to that. OK, we will be back later after the short break.
Welcome back. You're watching the Midland Saturday Special with me, James Brackpool.
I'm Paul Burrell.
And we're going to talk a little bit about Aston Villa now, Paul.
A lot about Aston Villa, probably.
Well, obviously, before we move on to the FA Cup final, game against Burnley this weekend. Not as big as we thought it would have been.
Our aforementioned colleague Gary James, he said all along it will hinge on that last game, and thankfully for Villa, it's not, because that would have been the worst scenario. And I don't know, is this the time to start experimenting with the team lineup 7 days before the FA Cup final?
For Villa, probably not. No, you're right. They probably need to breed confidence, breed a habit of winning.
Well, they need to get that out of their system from the Southampton game.
Well, I mean, let's talk about that for starters.
I predicted it, as you know.
Oh, yeah, you got it spot on. I was close. Obviously, Mane, fastest hat-trick in Premier League history. What happened?
I don't know, because the strange thing was, Shay Given wasn't really at fault for any of the goals. Not completely. But maybe Sherwood now has got a little bit of a headache with the goalkeeping situation, because they've got two good keepers, there's no doubt about it. They've both had humiliating experiences one way or the other over the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, that's right.
What do you do?
He's played Given in all the cup games, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And you'd have thought that Sherwood would stick with Given for the cup final.
I think that's probably the favourite, but it's something to ponder.
And I do think, though, people are forgetting how good Brad Guzan has been for Villa. You know, the man's a great shot stopper. There's no denying that. Obviously, he's gone through a bit of a tough spell. All goalkeepers do. Ask Joe Hart. You know, but certainly, I think it's a good thing for Villa to have those two sort of competition. Even though at the moment you might.
And
say.
Given's professionalism when he was out of the side was unbelievable. I mean, and he waited and he waited and he waited and he got the opportunity. So maybe Guzan's got to take his medicine now.
Given, obviously, Irish international. Coming on to Jack Grealish, England's squad was announced this week. Roy Hodgson has said that he didn't call up Grealish because he feared there'd be a backlash over calling him up. What do you make of that?
Well, that really is sitting on the fence, isn't it? I mean, they must have had the chat. I mean, Hodgson, O'Neill, Sherwood, Jack's family. I mean, they must know which way what they want to go, because he's got a confusing summer in front of him. You know, because I don't know whether Grealish, you know, Villa fans won't like this. I don't think he's worth a place in that under-21 side at the moment. They've uprooted trees to get as far as they can, and they've got Harry Kane there as well. And I actually think they could go semis or even win the thing.
Well, they recently beat Germany, didn't they?
That's right. Yeah.
No, I'd be inclined to
It would have been a great experience for him, but I wouldn't say that Jack was first 11 material for the England under-21s at the moment.
Well, certainly not the England starting 11 as well. You know, looking ahead to Villa's cup final.
And it is Villa's cup final, isn't it? The atmosphere around the city is wonderful.
I have to say, next week, all through the week on Extra Time, we've got a big Villa week, you know, dedicated, loads of guests, so do tune in for that. But Aston Villa, I feel, have got this sense at the moment that it is their year. Yeah.
Well, they're going to play with no fear. He's got them on the front foot anyway. I mean, and Delph is in the form of his life, and he's proud to be captain. Grealish, as you quite rightly saying, he's playing brilliantly for his club, and forget all that international stuff. That's what he's got to do. And make no mistake, it's going to be on the day, you know. And if Arsenal show Villa as much lack of respect as they showed Birmingham City 4 years ago, then Villa can win. But if Arsenal turn up and play the Arsenal way, it's going to be tough for Villa.
You'll know the Arsenal fans will be giving Tim Sherwood a bit of stick.
Absolutely.
Throughout the afternoon.
Sherwood is a gooner, I think, is the saying.
That's how the song goes. So we're going to have predictions for Burnley. Thankfully, Aston Villa already safe.
And I think Burnley will want to go out and showing. You know, Sean Dyche is a blue nose as well. That will play a part. 1-1.
I think it'll be a nice open game. I'm going to go, because I got it so wrong last week, I'm going to go Aston Villa 3, Burnley 3.
Oof. Well, before we move on to talk about West Bromwich Albion, let's hear a little bit from a former Baggy. Well, two former Baggies, Ian Hamilton and Dave Barnett. They're on Extra Time this week to talk about their playing careers at the Hawthorns.
Southampton as a kid under Laurie McMenemy, as manager. Had a great apprenticeship there. Good backing. Kevin Keegan with people like that there. Wow. Peter Shilton. They were in Europe, so they were the old school First Division, but Premiership. Yeah. And I got bedded in very, very well there. Unfortunately, didn't break into the team, and then moved to the old Fourth Division straight from there. But loved it there. It was great fun and good people behind the scenes. And like I say, it did. The way you were brought up there was the right way to do things, and you know, I learned a lot from it.
Yeah, yeah. And you seem to find that, don't you, with a lot of players? They start off, certainly going back into the 80s and 90s, you start off at a club and never actually get into the team, and then it suddenly takes off, doesn't it?
I think maybe you know, they don't bed the young players in like maybe they do now. You know, and mate, you know, I wasn't good enough. I had Jimmy Case in front of me and people like that. I wasn't getting in the first team in front of, you know, players like that. So you had to decide what you want to do, and I went to Cambridge, which was close to where I'm from originally, in Stevenage. So I went to Cambridge Young 4th Division, which was John Beck era and people like that. And we had some good players. Dave, you'd have played with Gary Paul.
Yes, that's right.
People like that, and the Kimball brothers, and John Beck was there, Lilford Chillo. So it was a good mixture of young and old. And again, I had a good 9 months there. So you know, it was the right thing to do at 19 years of age, rather than sitting there and playing the reserves. And okay, enjoying your life, but not pushing yourself to want to play professional football.
That's a good point, yeah.
Why Southampton? Were they the first club that kind of came knocking? Or?
Yeah, I mean, it's a funny story, to be honest. Stevenage to Southampton is a good 100 miles. And obviously I've got local clubs from Stevenage, which is North London-ish. So you had Watford, Luton knocking at the door. But my local leisure centre, I'm walking past with a friend of mine, and Southampton were advertising to have a day there at the leisure centre. It was 50p to get in. I had no money. And I always remember the guy's name, Matthew Spate, lent me the 50p. I was a bit of a gobby person, and I had this coaching session with them, and Dennis Wise was there, Stevie Williams was there, and they basically, back in the day, they just said, can you pass my number on to your father? Father phoned, had a trial, signed for him, and it went from there. But that was probably 12, 13, whereas now you hear about kids at 7 or 8 that are signing for clubs, which is a little bit different. But I loved it, and I was thankful to my father, because it was a lot of travelling. It was Tuesday night, Thursday night. Dave will know, albeit you're more local to the Midlands.
Still a lot of travelling.
My dad had to drive in, and he worked in the city in London, and he had to come out to Stevenage and take me back into Ealing, to Slough, weekends. But I think you've probably heard it from a lot of footballers that they have to go through that, you know. And unfortunate enough that my dad could do that for me, and there's probably a lot of players that we know that have gone by the wayside because they haven't had the structure or to get to where they need to get to. So no, but I loved it, absolutely loved it.
And was it always going to be football, Ian? Was that like a lot of kids, you know?
I've got an 11-year-old son, and I want him to do as best he can. He loves football, but he's lazy. And I think he's lazy because there's too many other distractions in life. Whereas in our day, you had a ball, and if you had a park across the road, you were constantly there.
Yeah, true.
And that's all you wanted to do. So yeah, I mean, it's that's what I say to him. He's good on the ball, but you're lazy, mate. If you want to play in midfield, you've got to get up and down and up and down. So we'll have to work on that.
Yeah. What about Dennis Wise? Any memories of him? Any stories?
What, bad stories?
Any stories?
We can repeat.
Unfortunately, he took me under his wing. So the first day I got there, obviously I'm coming from Stevenage, family. I'm moving to Diggs, lodgings, as a 16-year-old. A family you don't know. So Dennis Wise has been told to come and look after me that first night. I didn't get into half 11, and I'm 16.
You've just sobered up.
And I didn't go 10-pin bowling, I'm telling you. So, but I used to meet Dennis. Funny. Obviously, I used to go back at weekends to Stevenage, and then my dad used to drop me off at Waterloo Station on a Monday morning, very early, about 7 o'clock in the morning, and I'd meet Dennis. And he was a good lad. He looked after me, but he was a nutter, an absolute nutter. But he was a fit lad, very good player, did very well for himself.
That's it. Yeah.
And coming up to more or less up to the Baggies, because I know there's been a number of teams you've played for. But how did that come about? Was it Ozzy Ardiles, the manager, who signed you?
Yeah, I was at Scunthorpe, and I'd had a good 3 seasons there, and we got to the playoff final playing Blackpool, and we lost on penalties. I managed to score the first one, but we lost the last 2 lads, unfortunately. One was Graham Alexander, who went on to do very well in management. But we lost on penalties. But I thought that season, I think I scored 14 goals, and I thought if I'm not going to get me moved now, it's not going to happen. And I went on holiday, and fortunate enough then, I've come back and there's a letter through the door from Scunthorpe saying we've took an offer from West Brom, and obviously Ozzy had just took over. And I used to go and watch Ozzy play with Glenn Hoddle. I used to go in the clock. I'm an Arsenal fan, but I used to go in the clock end to watch. I got free tickets to watch Tottenham. So to go and meet Ozzy and Keith Birkinshaw and see the Albion compared to Scunthorpe, which is a bit like Walsall's ground, a bit like a Subbuteo Stadium, was that's not knocking. It's a good setup. Don't get me wrong, but the opportunity was there, and I could see what Ozzy was trying to do. And that first season again, we got to Wembley and got promoted via the playoffs. And it was great fun with Ozzy, and just a pity that season he left to go to Tottenham.
Always good to hear from former players. I mean, the Baggies is a family club, and you don't get many players bad-mouthing West Brom when they leave. No. It's that. And I think Tony Pulis, James, is the perfect manager. He's the perfect fit there. He seems to have sorted out Berahino. Ben Foster says it's a pleasure to come in training. The gaffer's got us buzzing, and you know, it's all good news at the moment. It's a good end to the season.
It's, you know, interesting you said that Pulis seems to have sorted out Berahino. Obviously, they had that fantastic result against Chelsea on Monday night, 3-0. Berahino with 2. First goal was an absolute beauty. To beat Courtois from sort of 25 yards with any strike, you know, is going to be impressive. But Pulis took Berahino off. And obviously there's been a lot of talk over whether Berahino's going to leave in the summer, but there was no waving, no antics. He just got off.
Taking care of business.
Seemed pleased with his work, and I thought that was a good sign for the summer.
And he's also got himself involved with fundraising and being kind of an ambassador for people back home, and appreciating the fact that he's one of the lucky ones. He could still be there kicking around a battered old football and really having no future. And I think he's starting to grow up a little bit.
You know, again, and on Monday night, we saw perhaps a little bit of West Bromwich Albion of next season. There's been a big discussion, hasn't there, about the Tony Pulis way, Paul. You know, will he continue with his, you know, almost stereotypical mantra now of getting 10 men behind the ball, being solid, hard to beat, nicking points here and there? Or is he possibly going to be a bit more flamboyant? Now, Chelsea put a strong team out against West Brom, and West Brom played them off the park. They counter-attacked beautifully. Tactically, Tony Pulis got it absolutely right. And I think, you know, with this summer coming up, the discussion about the Tony Pulis way almost shouldn't exist, because we haven't had a chance to see his side yet.
That's right.
He's just taken up what he's had and sort of moulded something that's managed to stay in the Premier League.
I mean, you can criticise the Tony Pulis way, but it worked for Stoke City, and they're blooming hard to beat at the Britannia. And Albion fans would love that situation when the Hawthorns becomes as difficult a place to nick points from as Stoke was. If you came away from Stoke with a 1-1, and Ryan Shawcross playing against you, you're happy with that. And Albion fans, of course, they've been brought up, like the West Ham fans, they've been brought up on free-flowing football and players like Bobby Hope and Jeff Astle, fantastic. I mean, wouldn't Pulis have loved Jeff Astle in his side? Tony Brown.
Yeah.
But I think, in answer to your question, James, it'll be a mixture of both. And that, for me, is going to be good for West Bromwich Albion as a football club, and particularly their fans as well.
I think you're right when you know, you say that West Brom fans have been brought up on great football. Obviously, having Graham Williams in, Mickey Fudge, Stan Jones. I've played for the great Albion team in the 60s, and he was saying, you know, they were playing some of the best football in the world that time, and they might, you know, they might be a bit biased, they might not.
And 10 years later, as we've alluded to before, the 3 degrees. I mean, Cunningham at his peak, unbelievable. That's why Real Madrid bought him. And they are used to that. They are used to that. And I see good times ahead for the Albion.
Where do you think they need to strengthen in
well,
the
they've got a great goalkeeper. They've got a great goalkeeper.
2 great goalkeepers.
They have indeed, yeah. Myhill, not to be underestimated at all.
He might be off. But
I don't know. An out-and-out prolific goal scorer.
You think? Even with Berahino in the side? Do you think Adey will be picking up next year?
I could see Crouch playing for Albion at some stage.
That's a big shout, that, Paul.
I know.
Yeah. I'd think that, you know, they'll be looking at activity at the back as well in terms of centre halves. Tony Pulis will really want to shape that back four up. And in terms of expectations for them next year, where should they be aiming, Albion?
Well, they should be looking at doing what Southampton have done, really shoring it up, like you say. But anything above 10th is brilliant. I mean, 13th this season, a few weeks ago, you said no chance.
And now, obviously, that's considered to be a great season. So
they want some stability. That's what they want.
Last Premier League prediction
Albion,
of the season?
At Arsenal, it'll be tremendous. Arsenal haven't scored a home game for a goal in a home game for 3 games. 1-0 Arsenal.
I'm going to go for another 3-1 Arsenal. Okay. So moving from West Brom to their dear neighbours, Wolverhampton Wanderers.
Yeah, transfer activity.
Yeah, they've already got Jed Wallace in the bag, promising young player from Portsmouth, England under 19 or under 21 international. I'm led to believe.
Frustrating for a club like Portsmouth.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been to the top of the game and now they can't hold on to their young talent. It's a shame. It's a fact of life, though.
He's been there, I believe he's been their top scorer, certainly amongst their top scorers for the past 2 seasons. And I think it's indicative of how Kenny Jackett's going to do his transfer business in terms of young and English.
Yeah.
And I think
also
that's what he wants.
Toughened up as well, because if he's played a lot of games at that level, League 2, then he's come up against some bruisers. It's like playing in the non-league. And that can only be good for Jackett. He's not looking for flimsy people who are legends in their own mind. He's looking for a good team ethic, and he's going to a great club at Molineux.
Just how difficult is that step up for players from League 2 to the Championship?
It's all about time, isn't it? Time on the ball and physicality. And I mean, look at Jack Grealish. He couldn't get into the Villa side for so long, but now he looks like he's been in it for 2 years. You know, so it's just getting that opportunity. Football's football. I mean, Gary Rowett's always said that, hasn't he? The goalposts are the same at Real Madrid as they are at Chasetown. Yeah. It's a simple game.
It's
really.
people like me and you that overcomplicate, isn't it, Paul?
Especially me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Blues.
Yeah, picked up this lad from West Brom. I don't know much
Brom.
about him, James.
Yeah.
I mean, Gary Rowett's a shrewd cookie when it comes to this sort of thing. I mean, getting the business done early as well, and a great opportunity. He wasn't getting too much football at Albion, and already he's featured in a couple of games end of season for Blues.
Yeah. Alex Jones, young forward. In terms of Blues, sort of other activity in areas that they might be looking at in particular, where do you feel is a real urgency for them?
New owners.
Yeah, be nice to sign a couple of new owners.
Yeah. I mean, on the field, I mean, Morrison is the backbone of the defence, and it looks like, because he's just signed a new contract, that Spector will be in there as well. I don't know whether the lad Kiernan's coming back. The word from Wigan is that they want him to stay. Do you know what I think Birmingham City should get and really try? The young lad Hughes from Manchester City, who's playing for Wigan now. Well, join James and myself and a few special guests next Saturday morning. It's Cup final day.
What a big day.
Can't wait. Thank you.
See you next week.